Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody from all around the world, hello and welcome to another episode of The Watchable with me, your host, Jean-Luc Welch. Make some noise, clap it up, get excited wherever you are. We're back with another action-packed show for you today, covering the world of boxing and beyond. We're so happy to be with you all, showing up on this Thursday afternoon, the second of a 3-day back-to-back type of week that we're going to have today, because we missed Tuesday. So we're going to have all the hype, all the action, all the entertainment for you to enjoy and listen and interact with. And then please leave a like on the stream if you're already here. Comment your thoughts and opinions on whatever we talk about right here on this show in the chat, so we can put it up on the screen for you all to witness and enjoy. Also, be sure to come through and leave a like on the video, subscribe to hit the notification bell so you know whenever we post right here on YouTube, as well as be sure to share the show with everybody that you know so we can keep on building up this empire together. All with you and your support, we can make this thing oh so dominant, oh so powerful, and oh such a spectacular show for us to witness and enjoy on today. I got my water after trying to be a little bit healthier on the week. You know, we gotta be, I wouldn't normally be having coffee. We trying to, start the year off right with, with a little bit of smarter choices on the day. But even still, we're still gonna give you everything that we got, and we got a lot to talk about today. We got the likes of Canelo and his career for 2026 potentially being the last great year of Canelo Alvarez. That's a big, bold statement, but it's a concerning statement because it shows that the end may be closer than we may see. Against speculation, we're going to speculate together and talk about it all. Also, we got the likes of KEYSHAWN Davis versus DEVIN Haney as a matchup down the line, with KEYSHAWN talking about moving up to 147, quick and in a hurry after Jermaine Ortiz. I initially had put in Shakur Stevenson. That was a mistake. I was thinking of Shakur, still off the topics that we had talked about yesterday. I meant to say KEYSHAWN versus DEVIN as a matchup. How can we see that fight potentially not just propagate to become a reality, but also, if it does happen, who potentially could get the upper hand in that fight, and what can KEYSHAWN do against the seemingly better version, bigger version, stronger version that we've ever seen before of DEVIN Haney. All that and much more we're going to talk about on this show, like with some NBA, like with Trae Young got traded to the Wizards. Oh my, where careers go to die most of the time. Will this be different? We'll find out. Absolutely. They traded him for a bag of chips and CJ McCollum. My goodness. In a shocking move for Atlanta, who's still looking to get something out of a multi-time All-Star. Oh, yeah, we got to have some talks. No question about it. But either way, we got a whole bunch to talk about. We got a whole bunch of stuff to delve into. And without further ado, hey, we got boxing to cover. We got sports to divulge. Excuse me. So it is time to step into the ring. Yes, sir. Ring the bell. Let's get it started. Round one of the show going underway. As we talk about, before we even get to that, we got to talk about the chats in the chat section. Like with Bobby 711, what's going on with you? How you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for tuning into the show. We're so happy that you're here with us on today, listening to our program. As we put the women and kids to sleep, it's time to go look for dinner. Type program. Hey, look, we're family friendly. For anybody can, women, children, men, boys, no matter who you are, what demographic, we fit the bill for everybody to join in on the show. No question about it. Hey, we don't discriminate. If you can talk your stuff and you want to learn and you want to be entertained, this is the place to be. Oh, yes, indeed. No question about it. Wake them up if you got to, because like I said, the more viewers we got, the quicker we can grow. So you're talking right. I want everybody that we can see to come through and watch the program. We available. Everybody can get something out of this show, at least hopefully. But hey, this is a show where you are gonna get the best that you can get. No question, from entertainment, analytics, news to the best of my ability, as well as opinions and takes all around. So hopefully you'll sit down and enjoy the show, no question about it. But without further ado, let's jump into the first topic of the day, which is the likes of the KEYSHAWN Davis versus DEVIN HANEY. Well, actually, before we delve into that, let's touch on Canelo first. Let's touch on Canelo first before we get into KEYSHAWN versus Haney as a potential fight down the line. Because that's going to be a big topic. We want a little more people to come in for that. Because I guarantee you, some folks who've been on this channel for a minute, when they come through, they're going to have some stuff to say. So we're going to say that for the second stint of this show. Unless y'all say otherwise, then we'll go on the transition. But regardless of which, with Canelo, as we enter the year 2026 with, again, careers abounding with all the hype of the other young stars looking to make big leaps this year, like with Abdullah Mason, like with KEYSHAWN Davis, like with the likes Moses Atama, Ajit Kabayel, both of them at heavyweight, Shoot Carrington. There's many of whom who are looking to really rake in the benefits of their prime. Excuse me, as I'm taking a sip, and go to be able to start the crescendo of their incredible careers into the pantheon of greatness and excellence in not just pound for pound days, but in the modern day era of boxing that is now turning into the next era of boxing. Oh, we got some high hopes for a bunch of other fighters, like with the likes of, again, DEVIN HANEY, with what he can do with his newfound rejuvenated power at 147. Hamzat Shiraz at 168, with him looking to take over that division, hypothetically, in the same division as Canelo. What can we see take place? It's a lot of questions, but the biggest issue that we have, or at least the biggest question surrounding it all, is how long can the old guard stay around and last with this new guard transitioning, more specifically with Canelo and his career off the backs of his loss to Terrence Crawford? Well, we have to look in the mirror and we have to say, well, there's a real inkling that the best of Canelo is getting ready to walk out the door. Potentially. Really is. And it's not because we're trying to say, oh, he's old as dirt. Like I said, he's 36 years old, understandable. Again, Crawford was 38 when he beat him. But still, the mileage on his body, the wars that he's been in, the over 70 plus fights just professionally that he's been in throughout his entire career, not taking into account amateurs and pros and going around the circuit in Mexico. There is the time stops for no man. There's only one brother right now that's actually eking out father time. It was Terrence Crawford, and he flew the coop and retired. Usyk apparently is going to be able to fight till he's 41. Artur Beterbiev, Lara, they still hanging around as some of the best in light heavyweight, with Lara being a champion. Beterbiev, without Beterbiev there, being most likely the second best heavyweight, light heavyweight, in the land. And Lara's at 160, reigning as a 41-year-old champion. So we got some names. And of course, in other sports, you got LeBron still doing his thing at 41. It's a rare air of ability to reign and stay at the top. But with Canelo, a little bit different, due to the fact that the density and talent in the immediate vicinity of him is getting a little bit steep, as well as his own decline, as we've been documenting, has been incredibly rapid over the years of him getting, not just with Undisputed, but as he's trying to reign in this division. You can still say that, hey, I feel that he's the best super middleweight in the world without Terrence Crawford. Hey, that's fine. But that claim is very much in a bigger jeopardy of, okay, how long can that last? How long can that stint of, yeah, he's still, nobody can touch him in this division? How long can that stand? We showed him videos of him training and working out, getting ready to, preparing from, I believe it was elbow surgery that he had post the Terrence Crawford fight. It wasn't elbow, it was hand surgery. One of the two surgeries he had. Either way, we see him getting loose, getting limber, trying to, work his way back into, the routine of the fight game. understandable. But when we look at the bigger picture of Canelo, as we're delving into 2026, there's a real inkling that the last great version of Canelo ends this year. For real. There's a real possibility. The last great version, the last elite version of what we see with Canelo Alvarez as a boxer, as a fighter, as a warrior, and as a legend is going to be this year. There's a funny feeling that I have. And again, it's speculation. To be clear, it's speculation. Be clear. It's not me saying anything's cut in stone. Like I said, we see people be able to go through and continue to defy the likes of Father Time, defy the likes of age, defy the likes of still reigning when you should be out to pasture at this stage in your career, yet they still hold on. That indeed definitely happens. No question. Absolutely. But with that still being the case, there is with where Canelo has regressed to in his career as of this year, with the likes of Billy, Hamzat Shiraz, Martinez, and even if we see potentially this year, Janibek move up, all of a sudden you got 4 names. Carlos Damas, hypothetically, if he moves up to 168, 5 names that are not just in the running, but specifically people like Shiraz. Okay, hey, you can take him. You could be the guy to put that nail in the coffin, hypothetically. Because it's not as easy just to say that Canelo is going to be able just to run roughshod over everybody else at 168 currently right now. This is with me saying that I think he still beats everybody at 168. This is with me saying it. With me. Now, keep in mind, I said a couple weeks ago. Still, I hold that to be the same standard. But in the confidence of said standard, I'm not as consumed with outright, I can stand 10 toes down. Yeah, that's going to happen. I have no question. There are questions. Indeed. There are questions. There absolutely are questions. There are concerns. Absolutely. There are concerns. There are notions of decline that I can't overlook, from the speed to the ability to adapt as an offensive fighter, dealing with the same struggles that you had against Crawford or Bivol, now at your own division, with the likes of Hamzat Shiraz in the mix, with everything, bringing seemingly everything to the table that we said Benavidez was going to give you a tough time with. It is a real inclination. Legit. It's a real inclination as to where this really could go. And also, we got more people in the chat. Excuse me. We got more people in the chat. Like with Truth. What's going on, Truth? How you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for tuning into the show with us on today. Let's see what you have to say. Janibek would be Sejo at 160. And again, we can argue that. We can argue that. We absolutely we can. Now, I think that he would, but even still, that's we can argue who at 168 can beat who. But strictly in regards to Canelo, that's what the topic of discussion is. Canelo, as a fighter, is now dealing with what can be perceived as a revamped density in the division, highlighted by Shiraz as the biggest threat of them all. How long can we confidently say that he can stay at that reign of the top of the division without any recourse or remorse of saying something might go wrong, like we used to be able to say all these years with Canelo? If it wasn't Floyd and it wasn't Bivol at 175, a division that he was not comfortable fighting in, well, we could say confidently, okay, this man takes out everybody. This man, he destroys and runs amok over the course of the whole of the boxing world at 168. We can say it. We could say that. I could say that. No question. There is a understood confidence and almost guaranteed nature. You could put it in the bank. I don't care who you bet it, who he was going against. You could bet the house that, okay, yeah, Canelo's going to take it. He's that great. He's that good. He's that skilled and experienced. He's that strong from a pound-for-pound perspective, being able to punch at a weight that he should not, in all reality, be able to compete in at the same level. He shouldn't. Let me be clear, 168, he is a very undersized fighter at 168. The fact that he's, 5'7", and still able to put either A, most people down, or B, have the chin to take that type of punishment from those types of punchers, being proven to have one of the greatest chins that boxing's ever seen, as well as being able to put punishment on them with all the disadvantages physically that he's had at this division. He's an anomaly. There's no question about that. We would not disrespect that. But even still, at some point in time, like I said, when time catches up, how much can this same great be great for this long? And it's an inkling that the best version of him might end as of this year. By the time 2026 ends, well, we're looking at a fighter who, and this is it. It's the last pretty picture of Canelo now potentially ekes into, okay, now he's the 2027 and on, however long he may stay, could be a major decline. But let me see. Canelo will fight with Cindy's if he keep the WBA belt till September. Now he could. Now I also saw. I think I saw something else about Cindy's that was coming up in the world of boxing. I thought he was going to fight somebody else. Although I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Let me fact check real quick. Hold on. Let me fact check. Like I said, we're gonna find something out. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna check it and see. We're going to do research. Like I said, we're gonna dot our I's and cross our T's in the perspective of how or what can be the main trajectory. And again, you're right. Again, with Cindy's as a fighter, sure, he get to fight him, take the belt, win, and then everything's all hunky-dory, mind you. But Cindy's right now is looking to fight in negotiations with, or is looking to be in negotiations with Jaime Munguia, who had declined the fight with Iglesias just yesterday. Remember, y'all remember? We broke in that news that he had declined the fight yesterday. Well, right before we get on air, well, as we ended the show today, now he's negotiating with Cindy's to fight for his title instead of the IBF that Iglesias had. Now, again, it's still a duck that Munguia could have had Iglesias, but went for the perceived easier matchup in the likes of Cindy's, who, again, still gave Caleb Plant a world of trouble and beat him as well as hurt him, which, even though you could say Caleb Plant might not be as up here as he used to be from a standpoint of skill set and talent, but he still is a hard out to beat. Still is. Still one of the better movers that we have. He just, again, gasses out routinely every single time. Especially if you can punch him to the body. But even still, whenever that, then we get whatever Cindy's and Munguia. If that fight gets confirmed and it happens, then next thing you know, bing, bang, boom, they fight Canelo. Canelo gets a world title if he beats him. And the next thing you know, well, the road to undisputed works back in its favor, but you still got to go through the likes Khamzat Shiraz and others, which is a very, and I mean a very lofty goal. And let me see, Berlanga, you want to say he rematches Berlanga? Maybe, but even though we got to see Berlanga get to that threshold again. Mind you, that fight against Khamzat Shiraz, he, kind of nixed his chances of any substantial or any immediate title opportunities, getting close to anybody of the caliber of Canelo. Because again, Canelo knocked him down, beat him up, all that stuff. Again, he showed more than I expected, but still, At this point in time, I don't know if even Belanga's in that conversation of, hey, that Canelo-esque sweepstakes. Can he beat him or can he get to a championship? I don't know. At least from my humble vantage point. Like I said, I could be wrong. And the way you may be thinking that Belanga might be in the mix as well could be absolutely right. He still is a hard hitter. He still got a good chin, all that stuff. But in the grand scheme of where we can see him in the world of boxing, he's at super middleweight, excuse me. It's it's not as clear cut that Belanga can get to that threshold again. Mind you, beforehand I said he shouldn't have been there in the first place. But then he won the Canelo sweepstakes and he got there and I said he wasn't good enough, and sure enough he lost. And then we thought he was going to show something and build after that fight with Canelo. And then he got sparked in 3 rounds by like the Shiraz. And then now there's been kind of silence on that same end of what we can see from a return from him. And in the ranks of the pound for pound of the division, Resendiz is there, Pacheco's there, Iglesias is there, Martinez and Billy, Shiraz, Plant, even Skull, I could argue, might be high up in the ranks right now, even though he shouldn't be clear. Even though he shouldn't be. Like I said, I want nothing to do with the likes of Skull anywhere close to, shoot, I'd even say top 50. Because I can't stand the butt as far as I can throw. I despise him as a fighter. Also, real quick, let me get up and clean my camera just real quick so you all can look as pretty as a picture. So I can make sure that I'm up to snuff and we all looking nice and pretty on today. There we go. Yeah, they had a little bit of smudge, but even still, Belanga, he can beat him again. But beyond that threshold, that's where the questions come into play. I think Canelo's never going to be out of the top tier of talent in the boxing world at super middleweight. Most likely. Even as he gets older, he's not ever going to be out of the top echelon, that top 5 range. He is still, again, seen as a prize. And that division, everybody still wants to fight Canelo just because it's Canelo. But earning that shot is a whole nother story, especially if you're outside of that top 5 range. So how we talk about with Charlo? Even if Charlo did move up to 168, Jamal Charlo, if he moved up to 168, even that fight, as much as people say, yeah, I would want to see it. Yeah, that would be a good fight. Yeah, that would be something intriguing to witness. Well, we couldn't say that for certain because we don't even know if Charlo could get to that threshold of top 5 in the division to get a chance at a Canelo-esque type of fight. Not to mention with the stock dropping and all that stuff. So there is still a hierarchy. There's still there's still a standard, yes, that Canelo carries, that will be always up here. We get that. The question is, how far can that standard stay standard for Canelo? Where the rest of the division doesn't all of a sudden become a bigger, more viable threat, as well as where indeed does Canelo's career essentially start to take a major hit. And again, I think that is going to be at the end of this year. We can even go back to what we saw with Canelo in regards to him fighting against the likes of Crawford. I said that he was doing all the right stuff against Crawford. Crawford was just a better fighter. Point blank, period. Absolutely. He was just a better fighter. However, with Crawford being an anomaly that's so great that he can kind of just overshadow nearly everybody. Like I said, one of the 10 greatest fighters I've ever seen in my career, or in my career of watching and covering the world of boxing and just sports in general. We're looking at a man who, with Canelo, that took a similar to Tyson Fury. That took a real hunkered down effort of, okay, I got to put everything I can into this current version of me so I can be the best version of me that I used to be in the past. And when we're looking at Canelo now, sometimes at this age, especially at, again, 36 going on up, because we don't know how everybody's body accommodates or takes a tune as the mileage gets longer and longer. How often can that high standard, okay, yeah, I can be up here, last? And the heavy waning might start by the end of this year. Might. Now, if I'm wrong, great. Love it. Because I want to see him be great. I want to see him be dumb. But if I'm right, yeah, stuff can get a little bit sketchy. Stuff get a little bit sketchy. But again, just food for thought as we continue on. Like I said, I can see Canelo fighting until he's, 39? Because he just loves the game. He'll probably want to stay in it because, again, this has been his whole life. But between here, 36 and 38, something gonna dip. At least in my skeptical view. But if I'm wrong, thankfully I'm wrong, because I want to see him be as great for as long as possible. Potentially retool and regroup and adapt and grow and add layers to his game that I didn't even know that he had, if it's possible. And if it is, but it can still be incredibly dominant, no question about it. But let me see. Not winner, what's going on with you? How you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for tuning in to the show as we're going to transition into the next topic of the day. KEYSHAWN versus DEVIN, HANEY, Itachi versus Jiraiya. Who wins? Now, we're going to talk about... Now, see, normally I would save this for a championship rounds level topic at the end of the show. When we give y'all 30 minutes to an hour to discuss whatever you all want to discuss. But real quick, in the immediate... That's a tough one. That's a hard one. Itachi, he let Sasuke win that fight that he was in. One of the strongest genjutsu jutsu that we had in all of the show, Naruto. But Jiraiya, the only way to beat him was Pain. But Pain was essentially like 8 people. Kind of got jumped by the same brother in different forms. But against, that's a tough one. I want to say, yeah, if it was Itachi without the disease, I'd say Itachi. If it was Itachi without the disease, I'd say Itachi. But if it's Jiraiya versus Itachi, I might have to lean towards Jiraiya. I gotta think. I'll come back to me. I gotta think about that. That is a good topic of discussion. That's a good topic of discussion. I come back to me. I'm leaning towards Jiraiya. If it's Itachi still with the disease, if he's got to fight as hard as he can, though that genjutsu again could indeed be incredibly, over dominating. But we're talking about Jiraiya, who's a master of masters in this show. But it was a force of nature. I come back to me on that. We're going to discuss that later on. But it's a good question. Definitely a good question. No question about it. But we're sticking back to the topics at hand for the show, like with KEYSHAWN Davis and DEVIN HANEY. Hey, with us knowing and understanding that KEYSHAWN's working his way up to the likes of DEVIN HANEY, quick and in a hurry off the backs of this Jermaine Ortiz fight. If he does win, again, post his own words, his own sentiments, not mine. He said he wants to go up to 147 quick. He said he wants to skip this division. He's eyeballing becoming the best man in the land at welterweight. Same division that is the very person he gets compared to in Terrence Crawford. Dominated in, went undefeated in, and had roughly 16 straight KOs. Or excuse me, had a KO streak from 2016 to 2023. Of every fight ended in by knockout. That is the newfound division that we're seeing KEYSHAWN Davis eyeballing. So with that being the case, the only assumption is he is looking to take on the likes of Devin Haney. That's what he wants. He's looking to take on the big kahuna, the quote unquote big fish in this sea of Devin Haney at 147 and potentially take his belts. And if so, well, we got ourselves a question. Well, is it viable that he can beat him? Is it viable that he can get up there? What is the sticking posture of the public from the standpoint of where they throw their beliefs at for whether or not this is not just achievable, but whether or not we can see the likes of KEYSHAWN Davis make 147 quickly his division to rule? Where can we see it? And if we do see it, great. But if we don't, what's going to be the pitfalls? What's going to be the stopgaps? And the stopgap is going to be, from a talent perspective, dealing with at least that type of style. Beyond just the size of 147, the size of welterweight, can he deal with the power? Can he deal with the newfound length that he's going to have right in his grill from the standpoint of having to work with longer jabs, more same speed, but even bigger destructive natures abounding, hypothetically? What can he do? And with forerunners like Ryan Garcia still in that division, Willie Romero in that division, though again he ain't fighting for some reason. Willie Romero ain't fighting anybody right now. It's turning down every time Dick and Harry decides to come through and fight him. Saying Devin Haney's too boring. Saying somebody else, I don't know who they are. And it's like, either drop the belt or make a move, because we don't want you holding the division just because you got the division, a division title. But it's a whole nother conversation. Main thing, which is the main thing. If KEYSHAWN and Devin are the biggest opportunity that KEYSHAWN's looking for, this fight's going to be dictated if he can beat and how he beats the likes of Jermaine Ortiz. That's the biggest thing. And depending on how he beats Jermaine Ortiz is going to be the biggest stickler, the biggest inkling, the biggest position of dominance that we can put KEYSHAWN Davis in for the standpoint of how he can deal with 147 against Devin Haney. Because again, he's dealing with a mover. He's dealing with a defensive fighter. He's dealing with somebody who, again, is giving the likes of Teofimo Lopez a world of trouble. This isn't just some ho-hum type of situation. We're talking about somebody who, in Jermaine Ortiz, this is a cat who's giving somebody in Teofimo Lopez who's seen as one of the most uniquely gifted boxers in the world, an incredibly tough time. So tough, so dangerous. From the standpoint of power, IQ, hand speed, as well as defensive responsibility. Because again, looking back at some film, I didn't realize how good defensively Teofimo Lopez actually is. He gave that type of fighter with some of the most unique athletic gifts that we have in this sport, only akin to the likes of Boots Ennis, for any remote comparison to be able to do different stuff. He gave that brother arguably a loss on his resume. A very disputed, controversial victory for Teofimo Lopez was that fight against Jermaine Ortiz. Now Jermaine Ortiz is going up against KEYSHAWN Davis, who this is his first fight back. Mind you, it's been over almost a year since he's been out the ring, and this is the new weight class at 140, and he is taking for the first stint up a dangerous, competitive, fervently driven, and very crafty fighter in Jermaine Ortiz that can make you look bad. Can make you look really bad. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. He can make you look hard. KEYSHAWN Davis can make you, KEYSHAWN Davis, there's a real inkling. KEYSHAWN Davis can be made to look like a fool boxing against the likes of Jermaine Ortiz. Those same pitfalls that we saw Teo fall in when he tried to fight Jermaine Ortiz are the same things he can bring to the table against KEYSHAWN Davis. How KEYSHAWN can deal with that, deal with the speed, deal with the the countering ability, deal with moving through against somebody who can use the entirety of the ring to his advantage. It has very crafty footwork. If you ain't careful, he can catch you with some pretty decent shots. Deceptively strong in his own right as well. And smart enough to lull you into traps that you may think that you're able to get over, but you can't. This is the identity of what KEYSHAWN Davis brings. This is the identity of what Jermaine Ortiz is bringing to the table, working against the likes of a very a crafty defensive-minded fighter who, if you want to face off against Devin Haney, this is the type of test that you got to be able to show, okay, you can handle your weight in gold. Because if Jermaine Ortiz is a tough out, but the mountain that Devin Haney is as a fighter is even more lofty, especially at the higher weight, with him now having power, working to be able to go on and have a threshold of pain that he can inflict on all of his opponents, especially with him being able to knock down the likes of Jermaine Ortiz. Like I said, the first half of that fight with not Jermaine Ortiz, excuse me, with him being able to knock down the likes of Brian Norman Jr., that first half of that fight was the closest thing we've seen to the real version of Devin Haney that we had missed the past couple years, especially since that Ryan Garcia fight, as he went and had a very questionable outing against Jose Ramirez. Put all that to bed against the best welterweight in the world. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Absolutely. Which is why he did such a good job. That's why he's on the pound for pound. That's the type of threshold you are looking to achieve. If you want us to have confidence that you can beat that, you want us to have confidence that you can beat him, you got to be fervent that you can not just fervent in your own conviction, not just fervent in your own confidence. You got to show us that the same way you handle Barincic, Lemos, and the same way we perceive that you would be able to handle like De Los Santos, you can do that same thing to Jermaine Ortiz. Because if you plan on moving up quick, you're going to need a quick level of dominance. You plan on elevating your game high. You're going to need a high output of shock and awe. They had to say, okay, yeah, this brother is different. Mind you, we're putting comparisons on this cat. Well, people are lofting comparisons or drawing similarities between him and Terrence Crawford from a stylistic perspective. The way they're built, the way that they fight in some regards. I'm not saying that he's better than him. No, he's not. Crawford would kill him in 6 rounds. Yes, he would. It wouldn't be close. That's how great Crawford is. We're not comparing the skill level. We're comparing some of the same duality of production. Way they go about their game. We're comparing that in some, okay, hey, there might be something there. There's something in the water that if KEYSHAWN Davis is able to come out of this on the other side correctly, hey, we're looking at a monster that can potentially be top 10 in the world. We are, absolutely. No question. We're looking at a monster who can be a top 10 in the world type of fighter. He's got a frame that can translate to multiple divisions. He's got power that can translate up beyond his own weight class that he's in right now and can stay even when he moves up to higher divisions, potentially as high as 154. He's got the length to be able to fight in multiple different styles. Get all this good stuff for him, which is not it's not a facade. That's real. But what has the questions is the matchups. Now you're going up and now you're with him pushing the pace, which again, I love. I have no problem with him trying to move quick in a young career to be great. I have questions of whether or not not whether or not, of what he can show against this brand of closer to elite talent. Because, like I said, he's still young. He's still young. And you would think after something of the debacle that he had with Albright, the fight and all that stuff, the jump in the locker room, all those reports, you would think with all of that being on the back foot. Okay, you might just take it easy. Pull a Wilder versus Hearn Dawn. Take a quick fight, and then come through and then afterwards, after testing his team, after testing his newfound identity of a fighter, with a whole new training camp, with Bomac also going under a whole new tutelage of person. If that's the case, you would think he would take it slow. But he's not. And this could lead to, again, the other half of this equation. As much as we can see Jermaine Ortiz struggle to, or rather make Keyshawn Davis struggle and potentially lose, the flip side, which honestly all of this boils down to, we still don't know what KEYSHAWN is going to look like under this new identity of boxer. And it could be that a very new regimen in training that he is trying to cultivate may just be the worst style form, hypothetically. And we don't know what that style is, but I know it ain't the style that he was, assumedly. With Bomac going, the same principles that he was dominating with might not be there. The same ideology of what it means to him to be a fighter in this division, what that's going to do inside of the ring, how that's going to change him, what that's going to allocate when dealing with these types of opponents. In fact, he had an interview coupled with shortly after training in the gym, when he was saying, "Oh yeah, he couldn't touch me, he couldn't hit me," which sounds like, okay, yeah, defensively up, he might be getting a little bit better slickness, a little bit more defensive responsibility. That's fine, but again, the best version of Keyshawn Davis, we were saying he was young, he's growing as a defensive fighter, but offensively, that is his focus and MO. Has that changed? Has that adapted? Has that moved into a threshold where now everything is potentially flipped upside down? It's not me just trying to speculate. It's the understanding that what this fight is for KEYSHAWN, if he ever wants to get up to 147 and fight the likes of Devin Haney, beat the likes of Devin Haney. That's already a fight that people are talking about. Is, hey man, I would love to see that matchup take place. I would love to see what Keyshawn Davis can do against somebody as slick and now also as strong as the likes of Devin Haney. The dream, who now has turned that dream of size, speed, and power, seemingly has turned that into a reality with that fight with Brian Norman Jr. Hey, also great. Now you're the one that challenged the dream. Well, can your dream become reality of beating that level of pound for pound level talent? And we want to say it's possible. I want to say it's possible. I believe it's possible. But I believe it's possible under certain circumstances, which are going to be proven right or wrong, or proven reality, or again, a dream, depending on this fight against Ramirez. Because if it's real, it's great. If it ain't, I don't know. I really don't know. It is a concerning effort because of the potential, the power, the known confidence, and he still does have the confidence, all that stuff, riding high. But against Devin Haney, it's we got to say right now, yeah, that is a different animal. As much as we want to say that would be a great fight, that is a different animal. As seen as right now, you could be another potential Brian Norman Jr. Well, you're running, where you're running through, you're dominating, you're beating everybody. Absolutely. I got high hopes on you. Everybody else is high on you. We got your ability on display. Everybody sees you as a true grit type of threat that pushes the boundaries of the potential next generation. between you, Abdullah Mason, Shakur Stevenson, which again, Shakur and KEYSHAWN, they won't fight each other, but you, Abdullah Mason, Shakur Stevenson, and now we'll put Tank in there, but he's not even fighting right now. And then with Devin Haney, y'all are again, y'all are next. If not, y'all are the now of boxing. We see it and we love it, but it's the concern for reaching the heights when it comes to what you're trying to achieve. Hey, we gotta say there might be some trepidation. They really could, and even beyond just at 147 with Keyshawn Davis and Devin Haney, well, you still got Ryan Garcia that we potentially have to worry about, depending on what Ryan Garcia post PEDs looks like, or rather post Rolly Romero looks like. If the wrist injury was really was really the issue, and all of a sudden he comes out looking like a house on fire, knocks out Barrios within 5 rounds, perfects that whole Ryan roll defense that he likes to use, and looks just as destructive as he did at 135, or potentially not just bigger, but sealing up the holes that he used to have when he fought against Rolly Romero, adding new offense to his game, utilizing his jab a lot more responsibly, using that right straight more fervently like he was able to do against Tank Davis, unlocking the full physical potential that his body brings to the table. He does that. All of a sudden, the boxing world at 147 gets a lot more interesting and a lot more dense, even though it's still top heavy. It's still top heavy. Don't get it twisted. It still is top heavy. For a division that, while Brian Owen was reigning up here, without Spence, without Crawford, without again the old guard like Sean Porter, Kell Brook, and others, all of them who were at welterweight. Now with them going, it is not as deep of a quality. Boots gone as well, but it's still between Barrios, Norman, Haney, and you can argue Pacquiao because he fought Barrios to a draw. If you want to put him there, at least as a name, stuff can get seedy. So while Devin Haney gets to go, even with that, the others up here, most you would assume would be fodder. But it could be all of a sudden we get proved, hey, there might be more to learn. But all of that contingents on one fight, this fight with Jermaine Ortiz. All of it hinges on one fight with Jermaine Ortiz. I would hope, if I'm being completely honest, I would hope that we see Jermaine Ortiz against KEYSHAWN Davis. And even if KEYSHAWN wins, KEYSHAWN stays at 140. You don't fight Shakur? Fine. You go through and you fight everybody else. Go ahead. Show what you can do and then stay down there. Because I would argue, from a big match perspective, as much as we see KEYSHAWN, Devin Haney as a real big fight to have, potential KEYSHAWN versus Ryan Garcia as a potential big fight to have, if you don't want to fight Shakur Stevenson at 140 because of y'all brotherhood and y'all packed with each other, that's perfectly fine. You would be remiss if after that fight, especially if you handle Jermaine Ortiz way easier than the likes of Teofimo Lopez, all of a sudden you come through and everybody's got all eyes on you as, okay, you could be the one to run the table and be unified. You could beat Shakur to the punch and become unified here. And then, okay, if you drop the belts, so you don't fight him, you drop the belts. But all of a sudden, you outshine your own brother. I don't say that in a negative light. I say that in the sense of, oh my gosh, the pride and joy and the prodigy. All of a sudden, you are right in that mix. Hypothetically, you could make a run. Shakur versus Teofimo Lopez. When that goes through, they get the other belts, and then you go through. You can fight T.O. The matchup of, okay, hey, Shakur beat him. Can you beat him as well? And then getting all the other belts and then dipping afterwards. But there's still so many big names. So many qualitative names. So many quality matchups that at 140, if you beat Jermaine in dominant fashion, you're prone. More money, more acclaimed type of fighters, more quality type of fighters. Excuse me, I got stuff going on in the background of the house. We again, like I said, we've been working. I told you yesterday and today we're doing stuff around the house just so if you hear anything. But even still, you got again Lamont Roach, Eastside Cruz, Gary Russell, all of them, Richard Hitchens, all of them. Perfect storm for you to come through and offer success if you do succeed. And all my concerns get rendered null and void. Boom, you there, you set, you. Dalton Smith, Sabril Matias. Fight the winner of that. Lamont Roach or Eastside Cruz. If we don't get Tank coming back at 140 and fighting them, you could fight one of them. Both of them if you wanted to. Shoot, if Tank does come back, you could force your way into fighting against him. Especially if you think that he's as vulnerable as you may feel. Especially if you feel he's as vulnerable, or especially if you see him as vulnerable. Off the back of that Lamont Roach fight. I'm telling you, there's a smorgasbord of opportunity. If we choose to move down there. But let me see. We also got people in the chat. Like with Love King. How you doing, Love King? Good to see you. Thank you for tuning into the show. Good afternoon. I think Devin beats KEYSHAWN Davis. And that's not out of the realm of possibility. It's not more than out of the realm. But as currently standing, that would be the favored opinion. As currently standing, that's the favorite opinion. With how Devin Haney elevated his game. See, it's not just the fact that we're seeing KEYSHAWN Davis coming back. It's the fact that we're seeing Devin Haney get better. This would be a complete. If it was post Ramirez, okay, we're having a different conversation hypothetically as to what that matchup would be. But as it currently stands right now, but there's a reason why we are all saying that when we look at KEYSHAWN and Devin Haney, there is a starch difference. There's a starch difference. There's a pound for pound quality that is not there with everybody. It's just the truth. Devin Haney has evolved. Whether we like it or not, he has evolved. I love it. Whether you like it or not, he's evolved to get to a threshold where, again, if he fights like he did for the first half of that fight with Brian Norman, there's an argument he handles a good chunk of people around here at 147 and even 154 hypothetically, if he can get up that, if he chooses to go up that much. That's a bad, but that right now it's looking like a hard man to beat. Even with the tools of KEYSHAWN. Along with the slickness, along with the movement, along with the, again, added threat of if he counters you, okay, he can actually hurt you. Coupled with the fact that the experience level, the championship pedigree, being in there with the likes of Ryan Garcia, Lomachenko, fighting Kambosos over in Australia, though we say Kambosos is not, again, a top-tier great fighter, he's been over in enemy territory more often than not against most of the contenders. He's been able to come through like pure gold. He's done work. He's been doing work, been taking tests and challenges. For better or for worse, and how the performance may have felt, it still has been an incredible run. All of that going up against KEYSHAWN Davis. Again, KEYSHAWN's young. KEYSHAWN doesn't have as much experience. Absolutely. I get that. Building up to that, it's gonna be a mountain. It's gonna be a mountain to climb. Major mountain to climb. Now, and currently standing, The potential for success is there. But it's got to be, in order to succeed, I need to see you beat definitively the likes of Jermaine Ortiz. All of this conversation is essentially everything boils down to that fight. Any roads to the future, any roads to going up, any roads to success as everything advances in the time of 2026. All of it's predicated, all of it's predicated on the identity of who KEYSHAWN Davis is going to be as a fighter post Jermaine Ortiz. And I would love to hear from you. Do you think he'll be successful? Do you think he'll struggle? Do you think that he will be able to do a number, make himself successful? But are we going to see a situation where KEYSHAWN Davis is just with the whole team overhaul, personnel overhaul, coach overhaul, shot himself in the foot? Genuinely. Has he shot himself in the foot with this move against Bomac that will cause these types of aspirations to all fall by the wayside? That's a huge dilemma. And it's a dilemma that it brings a lot of questions. That, again, speculation. Like I said, it's not me just trying to come through and just go and more so just trying to make up stuff out the wazoo. We're being real about this. It's something that I'm like, hey man, as quick as a rising star can go up into the sky, it can fall just as fast. Especially in an unforgiving sport like boxing, where one loss nixes everything that you tried to build up or even tried to come through and retool with. It can nix it all. It can nix all of it. And just like that. And do I want that for KEYSHAWN? No. But do I understand the danger? Yeah. And the questions at hand are indeed the questions at hand. So at least my opinions on that. But even still, we got more stuff in conversation that we can discuss and talk about, like with more news involving Boots versus Virgil Ortiz, as that fight that we are all still waiting to see, that everybody is still clamoring for, that we are hoping and praying gets confirmed outright. Well, it seems like his manager keeps on putting out very cryptic but seemingly deliberate anecdotes of evidence that, hey, that fight is actually going to be going down. That fight will indeed not just be a pipe dream, but will be reality. As you can see right here, as we go into the old picture, Virgil Ortiz manager posts some cryptic signs indicating that Boots and Virgil R&D signed again. Again, this is more tweets in regards to what was being talked about yesterday of them, or Boots and his manager, or not Boots, Virgil and his manager saying or having an inkling towards, hey, yeah, we gonna be, this stuff is gonna be made happen. Stuff's gonna be transpired. With this fight being made, I'm very scared for Virgil Ortiz and the aftermath, because of the way that his manager is playing this game. Like I said, just like there's been, because again, mind you, I even said it could very well be that Boots and Virgil was a fight that wanted to be made happen by Virgil Ortiz, but management seemingly is around him, might be the cause of why this fight has been postponed for so long. As you can see, we're here. Always know your value. Defend it outside the ring as in it. Posted by, again, Virgil Ortiz and his promoter. Talking about, well, hey, Virgil, we're going to get him what he deserves. You ain't going to just lowball this butt and all that stuff. But just like with other boxers that we've seen, while a loss should not be everything, loss can be substantial, especially when a built-up inkling from it is put on by the public, and especially when you are seen as the person holding up this fight. When Tyson Fury lost against Usyk again, it was still Tyson Fury, but it was a big hit to the perceived, not just invincibility, but the brand of Fury. There was a crash. There was a come to reality type of moment. There was a lot of mess that he had to deal with because of all the stuff that happened outside of the ring and all the stuff that was perceived by the public that had him essentially seen as, hey man, you were a duck, and now hey, you got proved to be a duck, and when you actually face off against the person that you were ducking, we knew you were gonna lose, and you lost. From the standpoint of all the haters that came out, the vitriol that came out, the not backhanded compliments, but straight up, laughing at what was going on. That's what happened. And with Virgil, especially with the facade of he's a warrior, he's a killer, he's a monster, all this stuff. He, as a boxer, as a talent, has a reputation of, hey, put me in the ring with anybody, I'll put him to sleep. I'll take him out. I'll destroy him. I'll come through and completely decimate whoever you put in my way. Ask Eric Lubin and others. I'm not scared of anybody. But again, everything that happened with Virgil Ortiz in that fight with Boots, immediately after Virgil Ortiz's fight, step in the ring, say, I want to fight you, and then go on what you said about Spence. You would love to fight Spence. If you can make your next fight, if you had to choose, manager again doing all this stuff, seemingly holding up, or perceived to be holding up opportunities to make these negotiations come forward. If all this comes through and all of a sudden Boots comes and just decimates the likes of Virgil Ortiz, which, we've seen this type of story before. That's not out of the realm of possibility. That we can see Boots all of a sudden come through and completely walk through the likes of Virgil. Again, because of the not even perceived, if time repeats itself again, when a unique fighter of the build of Boots comes through and is able to successfully run through divisions, making the best of the best potentially look like chumps. Not saying that's what's going to happen, but it's a possibility. And if it does, oh boy, adding on to the loss would be the stint of, okay, yeah, you ain't really what we said that you were. And that can be a major problem. That can be a huge problem. For the cachet, for the money, for the monetary value, for the reputation, for the, again, worth of Virgil, it could go into a very downward path very quickly. And all of a sudden lead into, well, everything's going up in smoke. Not going up in smoke. More so, everything is more, it's kind of, again, somebody who's built off the macho identity. Like with Virgil Ortiz, if that goes awry, everything goes asunder. You got to build that back up, and nobody wants to go through that. Especially somebody of the caliber of Virgil Ortiz. So it can be concerning. It can be concerning. But that's what my biggest issue is in regards to Virgil's manager. Honestly, playing a lot of games outside the ring. It's a lot. Because it's not, we talked about dads and fathers coming through and potentially building their sons up for failure because they talk like they talk. Promoters can do the same thing. Managers do the same thing. Even if it's not, again, you're not their offspring. It's still you building somebody up to where the way that you talking, your fighter is getting the rhetoric for stuff that you're doing. That is like, hey, buddy, you need to slow it down. You need to take a breather. You need to pump the brakes a little bit, lest you set your boy up to be a meme, a laughing stock. Lord knows you don't want that. You losing out on money if you do so. That mean you stay quiet, but I'm also like, hey, we've been talking about this whole thing. It's swaying from one side to the other of who's ducking who. All because of what the managers were saying and what they were doing, how they were speaking. It can be a problem. Very big problem. Very big problem indeed. Huge. That's why we're so glad that we saw Devin Haney win against Brian Norman. Because, if he had lost that fight, this same example of the manager or controller coming through and speaking for their fighter, backfiring in a huge way, would have been right there. But it didn't happen. Or if you don't like Devin Haney, sadly it didn't happen. Regardless of which, whatever you feel, that type of identity can happen again. Lord knows we don't want that. Lord knows. We just want to fight. Please, just make the fight. All these creature messages, just make the fight. Just get it going. The longer you go and keep on dragging stuff out, while Boots and his squad, they staying silent. You making a whole bunch of noise, but it still seems like no movement's occurring. Well, it would seem to be that loud side of the aisle is holding up the trajectory for this fight to actually launch into reality. Because the people that are talking, they said the people that aren't talking, Boots, Eddie Hearn, and others, they said their piece and they went back home. Make it happen. They ain't said that. I ain't heard a peep from them since outside of, hey, we working to make it happen. So other in the spectrum, that again that can backfire in a major way. And if we keeps on going, it's gonna lead to, like we've been saying, tracking this whole time, a buildup of resentment that if it crescendos off a loss against the likes of Virgil in that fight, if it happens, boy, it's gonna be a bad time. It's going to be an incredibly bad time. And if it is, I'll tell you what, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess nonetheless. Also, we've finally got more stuff in the heavyweight world. Like with, again, we got the matchup happening on, Saturday? I believe it's Saturday. Caballero versus Canby, or is it Canba? Going and fighting in January 10th in another heavyweight clash that will most likely elevate Caballero into more immediate championship opportunities. And hey, this is a big risk. This is not even a big risk. This is a big outing, because this is going to be, while it may not be as marketable of a fight from the standpoint of notoriety for the whole of the public, if you are inclined to be entertained by the heavyweight clashes of the world, understand, when we're looking at him, Caballero, all the momentum from Big Bang Jang, all the momentum about him being the next big star, it gets solidified in this fight. It does. Every boxer in their young career has a fight that kind of pushes them into the brink of, okay, yeah, he's solidified as one of the people up next. Not just by name, but by production. Fully production. Zhang was that coming out party for Caballero. He was. And you could say it was Makhmudov, and it was Makhmudov, but then it turned into Big Bang Jang when he fought against him. That was the biggest fight that kind of, oh my gosh, you beat somebody who had not just knocked out Wilder, but also had come through and looking like a menace to society, was one of the strongest punchers in the land. You came up and you beat him after getting knocked down as well. By the incredible power. Somebody 6'5", almost 300. So that was your coming out party. This fight is a little bit different. This is your unique party as if you're Caballero to come through and break your way into not just notoriety as a threat, but notoriety of, okay, all right, we got to start putting you in that same caliber as a Wardley. More immediate championship opportunities. You got even more leverage to demand positions of power in the rankings of boxing. You can call out people now and it starts to take a bigger threshold. Not because the fight itself is a 50-50 type of affair between Canba and Caballero. Again, I think Caballero's going by KO. But from the standpoint of a fight that may seem, I don't want to say unshaking in its moving of rankings, is a solidifying fight that allows you big bang jang, afterwards another dominant performance. Next thing you know, bing bang boom. Okay, now fights with Wardley can come about. Fights with, dare I say, a Talbot for your interim title can come about. You can move people into positions now, which is what I want to see, especially with a dominant performance. And that's why I am so excited to see Cabello. That's why I'm so excited for him. Because if he shows up and shows out, he puts the globe on bigger notice than what he's already on, which I'm all for. I'm absolutely all for. We have more people in the chat as well. Like with the likes of I Need a Burr. Burr, what's going on with you? How you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for tuning into the show with us on today. Let me see what you got to say. What's up, man? I'm calling it Jermaine Ortiz beating KEYSHAWN. Oh, so now, wait a minute now. Hold on a second. Wait a minute.
Hey, look at
oh, Lord.
We got the problems
So you saying Jermaine's going to beat him?
We got some problems here.
So you saying Jermaine Ortiz is going to beat him? You saying he's going to beat KEYSHAWN Davis? And this whole idea of KEYSHAWN versus Devin at 147 can potentially get derailed in a heartbeat. Now, I would love to hear why. Because I know it's possible. I would love to hear your reasoning as to why we can see KEYSHAWN beat or get beat by Jermaine Ortiz. Do you think that is it because his footwork won't be able to keep up with the movement of Ortiz? You think he'll get countered too much from what Ortiz's defense and style will bring to the table? You think it's because we'll see Jermaine Ortiz, dare I say, just straight up outbox him cleanly? Like I said, if you can deal with Teal, you can deal with KEYSHAWN Davis. If you can deal with Teal, you can deal with most of the globe, as is what's perceived. So it's like it would make sense that Ortiz would come in with the confidence of, hey man, you can't touch me. You can't do nothing with me. This is, if you don't see me as on that level, you are sorely mistaken. Is that the reality of what we're saying? Or what we can see? And because all of this, if you think Jermaine Ortiz is just a fluke of a one-time great performance against the likes of Tio, as what everybody's basis is for why this fight is such a hard fight, that's wrong. That's wrong. Ortiz is a real threat because he is a real threat, especially in KEYSHAWN's first fight back. I am telling you right now, KEYSHAWN losing to Ortiz is a real possibility. That's not just some ho-hum type situation. That's a real possibility. That's a real inclination. That's a real derailing reality that can occur, that can put all this other stuff about future fights for KEYSHAWN to bed. He's back at square one. He's back at retooling. He's back at finding himself. He's back at regrouping and trying to regain what was lost. Very much so. And I'll say this, I'll be perfectly honest. Ortiz is not the type of fighter that you go through and you are learning a whole new system under before you fight him. Ortiz is not the type of fighter where you're trying to learn an entirely new style of boxing prowess under a new coach and a new team, with him being your first fight back. I don't know. I don't think that's smart. I really don't think that's smart. Let me see. They played Jermaine with the T.O. fight. He's a world-class fighter. Knowing him or not knowing him, he ain't no joke. Props to KEYSHAWN, though, for his comeback play. Like I said, no, I love the intensity. I am all and well and good down for him working to thrive as quick as possible. I love the expedited nature of him looking to make a mark and leave a mark quick and in a hurry in this division and beyond. I love that. There's no question about that. Like I said, the mentality, the goal of him to push himself further than what many people say should actually happen at this stage, or the normal trajectory of what should happen at this stage. Mind you, he became a champion early. Became a champion early in his career. When it was Burinchi that he beat. And he wasn't going to fight De Los Santos, who gave Shakur all he could handle. And if he beat that, oh my gosh, those aren't the road of Davis's entire career. We can look and say, okay, it hasn't been just a blase type of affair. He's put himself in the thick of everything he can get from the standpoint of competition. He has. And in today's day and age of boxing, though it's happening more often, it still isn't as commonplace. It's not. Again, Abdul Mason is doing it. Xander Zayas is doing it. We're getting people that do it, but it's still not as well flushed out as, again, in past eras and generations. It's not me trying to be a back in my day type person. It's just the reality of what boxing has evolved into and is currently evolving into now. It's getting better, but it can still get better. Regardless of which, when KEYSHAWN moving in this way, I love the identity. I love having KEYSHAWN take all these tests. I just hate that KEYSHAWN's taking this test without the main man by his side to make him the best he can be for these tests. That's the thing. I hate that. That's what I hate the most. I hate the fact that KEYSHAWN is a fighter who is not in any way, shape, or form reaching his potential. Or rather, has reached his potential yet. Because his potential is so high. But I hate the fact that the person that was building him up to that now is going out the pasture. Going into what is going to be one of the more technical affairs against a legitimately tough opponent that he's been in his entire career. That's my issue. I don't want to see a star stifle before it can actually grow into something incredible. With KEYSHAWN Davis, that can happen without Bomac. Bomac, for a lot of people, is the recipe for success. Bomac, for a lot of people, is the recipe for greatness. He is one of the best trainers we got out there. He has been able to go and fervently create ideologies and identities from the standpoint of in-ring that fighters have been able to build around and completely be better for. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That's what the likes of Bomac does. Without Bomac and somebody else going to retrain you and potentially change the things that were working, you don't need to be at a position where you're trying to recalibrate yourself against this type of guy. Not this type of opponent. That's my biggest, not this type of opponent. And because of that, that's my biggest concern. That's why this pipe dream of Devin Haney versus KEYSHAWN has me in very concerning efforts of trying to rationalize, okay, yeah, he'll definitely pull it out. He'll definitely go and get the win. I shouldn't be worrying as much as I am, but I am. I am. Not saying if Jermaine Ortiz wins, oh my gosh, I'm going to be just devastated because the better man won. But it's going to be, you can't, but we know what this is. KEYSHAWN has the all-bright situation. He goes and he loses against Ortiz. All of a sudden, he's going to be like other fighters that we've seen trying to relearn what they can be. We saw Eubanks go through it when he tried to train under, when he tried to train under Roy Jones Jr. and then looked horrible, got knocked out, got a new trainer, then knocked out Smith afterwards. And then subsequently, beat Conor Ben, now lost to Conor Ben and saying he's got other issues and potentially got to retool again. It's a litany of stuff. Litany of issues. Wilder to this day, without his trainer. We saw what happened to him. He still has not recovered from getting rid of Mark Breland. He still hasn't recovered from the stylistic ability that he had with Mark Breland. Still had. To this day, is still struggling to be the bronze bomber of old. Even with the Usyk fight on the horizon. Malik Scott has ruined that man, the kingdom come. All because you went away from a man who was a perfect fit for you. And now you're everything that you need to train is not who you are in real life. In a boxing perspective. What you practice is not what you need to be preaching. Or rather, what he's preaching to you is not what you need to be practicing. Because that's not what is successful for you. And Wilder's getting a big payday, absolutely, but he's looked the worst that he's looked in his entire career. Over the last, 3 fights? Post-Tyson, or 2 fights, post-Tyson Fury. No, I'm sorry, Joseph Parker, Tyson Fury, Hearn Dawn. The worst he's looked over the course of his career. It's bad. And it's because he's bad, because he hasn't gotten himself the style worth his own accomplishments. Or rather, excuse me, let me rephrase that. He hasn't gotten the style correct of what fits his skill set and what fits his mentality. And it's ruining. I don't want KEYSHAWN Davis to have that same issue. And he can indeed have that same issue. Yes, indeed, he can. Let me see. Bomac had a good run with Lester and Bud. I don't know about KEYSHAWN, though. He been caught up doing a lot of things, smoking in camp and missing weight. Not just once. Hopefully, this is actually a change, KEYSHAWN. And you're right. Outside problems, outside circles and issues. But the question then becomes, how much of that is the other people in the circle you can talk about, potentially, you can speculate about. With what we've seen from Bomac with Bud, who again, with his, if you want to say surround himself with the same people, Bud, when he was with Bomac, wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary. We've talked about this before. Self-discipline. It's as much surrounding yourself with the proper people. Absolutely. And, the coaches and all this stuff absolutely it presents a very good precedent or bad precedent. They can steal you up. Just look at Panama Lewis. Steered everybody wrong. Horrible trainer. Despicable, disgusting trainer. Understand what he was doing. But with Bomac and Bud, and Bomac and Lester and others around Bomac, yes, they worked, but also you don't hear that stuff going on with them. KEYSHAWN was dealing with stuff internally as well as externally. Bud's had a bunch of issues in his own right, but he still stayed disciplined to what worked and stayed disciplined to the game. With or without Bomac there. With Bomac alongside of Davis. Davis was looking like a brother who could knock out people at 168. With Bomac around Davis, in ring, Davis was looking like somebody who was getting comparisons to the likes of Terrence Crawford from a similar or a somewhat similar stylistic nature. A physical frame that, like I said at the start, can translate up and down. And a power that can go through and potentially be amongst some of the best, regardless of what division he gets up to a certain limit. Perceived as 147. We're not trying to say that Bomac might not have been an issue, but we also are saying people that train with Bomac, but when they were disciplined, they didn't have no issues. And we were saying, that's the best fit. We're saying for KEYSHAWN, or at least for me, that's the best fit. Without him there, I don't know what he is going to be able. I don't know what he's going to be. Let me rephrase it. I don't know what he's going to be as a fighter. I don't know what he's going to be as a boxer. I don't know what's going to be stripped away and added to him. I don't know what is going to be successful and what's going to fail. Because in all honesty, there's going to be some things that are going to be trial and error, hypothetically, because of the newfound teachings, coaching, regimen, practices, revamping of the very fighter's identity from the perspective of molded to some sort of way, lean to the coach's preference or lean to the coach's stylistic, standards for how they want a fighter to be. It's going to change KEYSHAWN in some degree inside the ring. Again, outside the ring, I am all for get yourself right and you've got to retool. No question. But at the same breath, I can't sit here and say that blame isn't just as much of KEYSHAWN Davis, because we've seen people not have any issues with Bomac being their trainer. Personally. With how they acted. I'll say this multiple times. Everybody holds responsibility. But the fighter, again, has his own responsibility. You got to be driven and committed so you don't lose yourself. And I don't think, again, in my opinion, I don't think that him nixing Bomac from everything else in his life to retool and recalibrate, I don't know if that was the best move for his boxing career. Because of the fact that with that move, you have successfully done away with all the things that steered you wrong. But now in ring, what potentially will you sacrifice to be the better person? Which again, the better person is always the better person. Be the better person you can be. I just feel that he could have been that with Bomac still around him, instead of having to get Bomac out of his corner. Because I'm scared, I still don't know who's his trainer now. Who's his coach now? I'm still trying to figure out who his coach is right now. And I'm still trying to figure out, okay, whenever I find out who that coach is, what will he lean towards inside of the ring? He's going to be more defensive. He's going to be less immediate in using his physical advantage and power. He's going to look for the finish less often. He's going to try to not let his physical destructiveness be a big part of his game plan anymore. He's going to get turned into potentially a more slickster. He's going to be turned into essentially more of a methodical paced fighter. I don't know what he's going to look like because I don't know who is teaching him and what they're teaching him to add or retool what's already in him as a fighter. And that could be for better or for worse. And Lord knows I don't want it to be for worse. I don't, because if it is, good gosh, it can get bad. Let me see. Jose Martinez, how you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for tuning into the show with us on. And again, this is just my opinions. Like I said, if you have pushback, please let me hear your thoughts on everything that we talk about, because I want to see what you all got to say. And if I'm in the wrong, let me know. Show me where I'm messing up. Because it ain't about being right. It's about being right. It's about making sure we can all get the page or the proper page of understanding. So I want to hear from you all on these topics and many more in regards to any conversations that we have. But also, let me see, Jose Martinez, thank you for tuning in. So glad you're here with us. Let me see what you got to say. Do you think Canelo should do, what do you think Canelo should do next? Continue his career or retire? So, no, he should still continue his career. I'm not saying he should retire. What I am saying is I believe Canelo is a fighter, or as a fighter, is by the end of this year, is going to be completely or fully out of his prime. The best versions of Canelo end this year, in my opinion. Again, speculation. We're starting off the year. Well, I guess we can make some bold statements, but I don't know if this is bold as much as it is with the trajectory of where Canelo's career has been. I don't think that we're going to see Canelo be able to be the tip-top version of Canelo that we've seen oh so long, where it is unquestioned that anybody can take him out in this division. Outside of, again, Terrence Crawford. That prime ends this year and is coming close to the end of his career. Because when that goes away, now that's a lot of people are gonna that weren't viable threats before can turn into viable threats with a diminished Canelo. He's 36 years old, got 70 plus fights on his mileage, has been in wars with Gennady Golovkin and others. Win, lose, or draw. He's had surgeries. He's recovering from a surgery right now. He's getting ready to get back into the ring. Great. But you got people, you got Iglesias, you got Shiraz, you got the likes of, not necessarily Caleb Plant. Well, not Caleb Plant. Excuse me. We got fighters coming up that, again, like I've said before, Janabek, some of this stuff I said earlier in the show, but you have names that were not remotely close to being, from the perspective of, okay, yeah, they can't be Canelo. You have names that weren't in any way a threat perceived for Canelo. Now I have to talk about them. If this year goes the way I think it's going to go, with the decline of Canelo still going about, we might have to start talking about them as, okay, there might be something to this that he can actually lose against these perceived fighters that would normally be, he can overcome with the greatest of ease. He should still keep on fighting. He can fight and get a WBA championship. He can fight and beat Resendiz if between the winner of Resendiz and Munguia. Yeah. He can fight Iglesias if he wants to for the IBF belt. But even still, Iglesias, as we've been saying, is a big threat. Huge threat. So the names stay the same, but because the level of Canelo, as we've seen, is going down more and more, we're going to see, and I think it's going to be this year, that vulnerability really starts taking hold. And now this division becomes, instead of just a 90-10 division, where 90% of the time we can always say, yeah, Canelo's going to win, it gets closer and closer to 60-40, and in some fights 50-50. To where it's not a given. That's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see. But he should still fight. But again, by the time he's 38, it's going to be when I'm like, okay, it's time for you to hang it up. You got 2 years where you can fight. You got 1 year where you can fight still at an elite level. You got 2 where you can still fight and compete with anybody. And still, there's going to be some struggles within those 2 years. But it's going to be, okay, you're still doing some good stuff. Once 38 hits, yeah, I think that's when I'm gonna start saying it's about time to go. Once 38 hits for Canelo, I think I'm gonna say that's when it's about time to go. So it's getting close. It's getting close. Getting really close. Let me see. I'm super excited for the Murtala versus Andy Cruz fights. Thoughts on that fight? No, I am as well. Like I said, I'm very excited for that fight. That fight is a very compelling affair. In fact, what time is it? It's. Let me make sure I got the date for that fight right, so I can actually make sure I have my allotted time put aside, so I can make sure I see it. Okay, yeah. So that's January 24th. I had to make sure, so I had to make sure so that I wasn't messing up and potentially missing out on when that fight was going to be. But no, that fight's that's January 24th. That fight, it's going to be not just exciting. I'm of the mindset, I think somebody's going to sleep. I really do. And I'm hoping that it's Murtala. Like I said, I want to see Andy Cruz get this win. I'm biased a little bit, but that bias is because of impatience. Because I've said this multiple times. I'm sounding like a broken record. I want to see Andy Cruz get a belt. I want to see Andy Cruz at lightweight get a championship. I want to see Andy Cruz look like the real dominant type of threat that has been touted by him. Okay, yeah, this man is skillful. This man is Cuban-born fighter, has that slick style that can also go and make you look foolish as well as do some damage. I want to see that. Again, he's 6-0, 3 KOs, great amateur background. I want to see that success take hold and be able to capitalize and make this division incredibly enticing. I want to see it. Because if Andy Cruz wins, quicker than a hurry, he could look to unify against the likes of Abdullah Mason. Think about it. That can happen. That can happen.
Hey, look at this. We got some problems here.
That can happen.
We got some problems here.
We could see Andy Cruz, if he beats him, go and try to unify against the likes of Abdullah Mason. We could see him give a shot against Floyd Schofield. With all the stuff we were saying about Floyd Schofield, we want to see him fight. We want to see him compete. Ranked about, 9th or 10th in the world at lightweight at 135. We want to see all these fights take. We would love to see that. Yeah, sure. So at the same breath, if I do want to see these fights happen, again, this is my personal preference. If I want to see these fights happen, I want to have some confidence that I can look at Andy Cruz going up against these other names and say, okay, yeah, that's going to be not just a good fight. That's going to be a test that don't be surprised if Andy Cruz gets a quote-unquote upset. I want that type of uneasiness. Because I think Andy Cruz can be that much of a volatile figure in the realm of 135. I do think he can. It's just a matter of whether can you prove it against Murtala. Can you prove it? If you prove it, great. If you don't, well, again, personal preference, my stock on you is going to drop heavily. I'm going to be very disappointed, incredibly disappointed if that takes place and if that happens. Let me see. Armando and Christian and Billy are the only ones I can see Canelo beating at this point at the division. You can only see Canelo beating Armando and Christian and Billy. So you couldn't see him beat Martinez or Hamzat Shiraz or even a rematch in Berlanga, hypothetically, if Berlanga works his way back up there. That's interesting. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. Huh. So you're saying, what's this? So that would mean that you're saying Canelo's already dropped off a cliff. Wait a minute. If you're saying that Canelo's only able to beat two people in the tops of 168, then you're saying that Canelo's already fallen off to where it's irredeemable. It's not feasible. Now, if the Canelo that showed up against Crawford showed up against other boxers who was actually using better defense, better head movement, using some traps he hadn't been using for years. Legitimately, he was doing the right stuff against Terrence Crawford. Crawford was just a better fighter. Better cutting off the ring, better stalking down his opponent, trying to impose his physical advantage. He was doing that. He just got beat. Straight up. But that would beat a whole bunch of people. It would. And Billy would give him a tough time, but I think still Crawford would beat him, Billy. At this stage, like I said, by the end of this year is when those question marks I think are going to come into play. I think he still got it to where he can still handle most of the division as of right now. But I think it's more than just two people, at least for me. Iglesias is very dangerous, and at this point of Canelo's career, I wouldn't be surprised if Iglesias stops Canelo. What? I respect it. But I do feel that there is a how do I say this? I respect it and I understand it absolutely. That Iglesias is definitely a threat that amongst those high caliber of opponents, from a danger perspective, yeah, he's up the tip top. I just don't think that Canelo's at this stage that far gone to where we had to start saying, okay, oh, excuse me, I don't think he's that far gone to where he couldn't beat Iglesias. Again, Iglesias, with all due respect, the power's there. But he's also built of the same way that Canelo thrives against opponents, where he is, if you're right in front of him, he don't got to work to find you. Like, he loves fighting those types of people. He loves fighting those types of entities where if he don't got to work, if he just had to work hard to find you, and you got a very syncopated level of how you throw your offense, even though it can be incredibly dangerous, he can, he can do some damage to you. He can. But that's the question that, again, it adds to the question of, excuse me, I'm so sorry. It adds the question of, again, whether or not you see that the fall of Canelo is indeed steeper than I may be putting it as. I'm giving it a year before we all of a sudden have to say, yeah, it's going to be those types of, you might not be able to have it against him. But if you think it's right now, that means that you're saying that this division's already lost to him. Because if you're saying that he loses to Iglesias, that would mean that the pressure of Billy would also be too much for Canelo to withstand. That would mean that the pressure from Billy would also have to be taken into account that, hey, okay, hey, man, you can't, with your stamina, with your going up against another physical presence, even though he might be right there, and with Billy being still a very demonstrative puncher, maybe not the same way as Iglesias, but still good enough to where, yeah, it's going to hurt. You could argue that, going along the same line of thought, you could argue that Canelo couldn't beat Billy, if you want to talk around those dimensions. But again, I think that it's still a step too far until the end of this year. Then afterwards, we're going to see. And again, a lot of this is speculation. I understand. A lot of this is us talking a bunch about what can or cannot happen. Most of it's going to happen after we get the first fight back with whoever Canelo fights against, which, again, as reported right now, I have no clue who's going to return against. I have some ideas. I don't have a concrete evidence as to who he's going to actually fight against in his first fight back as of right now. Because he was training for Terrence Crawford in the rematch. Wanted that rematch to get it back in blood. Terrence Crawford retired. There was no rematch clause. Be clear. So, that's why that fight didn't happen. But in the end, but if we're going to go with actualities, we have to keep everything 100. Canelo against the top 5 is dangerous, but still I think he beats him. And Canelo against Iglesias is a threat. I think he beats him if he fights him this year. Now that brings a better question of whether or not he'll go immediately back into the thick of it and fight for a championship. Because again, he still said, I still got more left in the tank. So if that's the case, we expect if he wants to stay in the championship picture, okay, he'll fight in Iglesias. He'll fight the likes of Shiraz. He'll go on and jump into the deep end if he wants to. If he's going to do it, because at this point in time, like I said, I don't think he's got time to waste. He's now or never. He'll go on and jump into the deep end. Prove us wrong if we feel that Canelo is washed and that he can't handle the likes of Iglesias. Go ahead and move him. Get him out. Beat him. Take that threat. If you've been in there with Gennady Golovkin, one of the heaviest hitters at middleweight and of all time, period, Iglesias, with all due respect, should be manageable. If you're thinking in Canelo's mind. Y'all are not Crawford, so I can take on anybody out here and have all well and good. That's if you're thinking like Crawford would, like Canelo would think. If you're in Canelo's mind, yeah, y'all ain't them, so I can take on all of y'all with ease. We want to see it. Make it happen. Shoot, make an announcement. Make a full blown picture. Go back to getting ready for the likes of Cinco de Mayo. Retool, regroup, and get it back in blood. Show the world that yeah, you are who you think you are. And make it known. Show everybody, yo, I'm still that dude. Point blank, period. No matter who you think I am going to turn into. I'm still the man to beat. I'm still the pinnacle of I am the excellence of execution at super middleweight. Show us what you can do and what you can be. Show us. I would love to see it. I would love to see it. I need to see it. I want to see it. Because I don't need you wasting time at this stage in your career. Because 1 year or one couple of months too long, everything can go down haywire. And every fight that we may think you can actually win, now you're just a half a second behind. Millisecond slow reaction time. Millisecond slower head turn. And all of a sudden, you're out the pasture. It can happen quick. It can happen quick. It can happen very quick. I'm telling you, it absolutely can. But either way, I want to see this. If we talked about anything with Canelo over the years, it's been now or never that we will witness the stamping of his legacy. Not from the standpoint of it needs to be validated. It's already validated. The stamping of legacy as in the cap put on it. The final stone on top of this pillar of a throne that he has built up for upwards of 20 years. Or almost 20 years. This kingdom that he has reigned in as one of the faces of boxing, if not the face of boxing, for upwards of a decade. He is about to put the final cap on it. I want this to be as much of a dominant cap as possible. The final brick as laden with as much gold and jewelry as we can see. But that means that he's pushing himself to the brink, taking on the biggest tests that are there. Which, Iglesias and Billy. And others of the like. Getting that fight with Benavidez. Calling for that fight. Whatever the case may be, just make it happen. Because it is, for now more than ever. It's now or never. Now more than ever. It is now or never. How is this story going to end? I want it to end on a high note with them going out swinging. And not him going through. Regardless of what my potential gripes may be of what he can be as his career continues to go on from this year on. I want it to be something where he goes out in a blaze of glory. But that means that he's going to take those tests. And there has been a moniker of concern that we've had for him in regards to with the biggest test available. Sometimes he doesn't take it, like with David Benavidez. So, will it stay true? I don't know. We're going to have to find out. Let me see. What up, Teddy Berkshire? How you doing? Good to see you. What up? Caballero is said, yeah, we just talked about Caballero. Actually, before you came in here, we were discussing Caballero against, I think it's Kaiba or Kanba. I'm saying his name wrong. I do apologize. But he's fighting, and he wins this fight by knockout in spectacular fashion. I would love to see. I would love to see him against any of the biggest names. I would love to see him versus Fabio Wardley. I would love to see him versus, Moses Atama. Atama takes they fight for their interim titles. I would love to see him. He's not going to get Fury. But I would love to see him versus Fury. He puts out a dominant display out here. I would love to see it. There's a whole bunch of hype going into this fight. From the standpoint of watching Caballero look to keep on showing the dominance that he has over the course of his young but very violent career. I can't wait for it. Saturday's going to be an incredible time. Let me see. But Jose Martinez, if Canelo beats Iglesias, I would say he still has a chance against Bud. But if Canelo goes into the immediate rematch without, I think Bud is just going to school him worse than the first time. Well, be clear. I don't think that fight's going to actually happen as we can actually transition over into the championship rounds real quick. 30 minutes to an hour. Let's see what you all got to say for the public to put their thoughts on display. But I don't know if that fight will even transpire due to the fact, I mean, let's be real. Crawford is going to, I don't know if Crawford might just stay retired. Not might. It's a real inkling. He could stay retired. That's not going on. Again, Canelo was wanting that rematch. He nixed his Cinco de Mayo date in order to get that rematch with Terrence Crawford. Though the rematch was not, there was no rematch clause. He still wanted a rematch. But if we even want an inkling of what can pull Crawford out of retirement, it would be Canelo showing new wrinkles and decimating Iglesias. Right now, what's perceived to be a new boogeyman at 168, you go and you knock him out. And then you look down the camera and say, hey, Crawford, I'm a different man now. Come get me. Let me see what you got. Come back in boxing. It's the biggest fight. It's the most money you can make. It's the most hyped fight you can have. And you just saw what I did to a brother who had the power to, dare I say, even hurt you. Come see me now. And I'm gonna show you I'm gonna show you really the best version of who I am. And we're gonna make it happen. Let me get it back in blood, and I promise you it will be worthwhile. That's what we can see. But might put Crawford pull him out of retirement. It could. All of a sudden he comes through and successfully wins that fight in dominant fashion. Everybody's clamoring for it. Everybody's asking for it. Oh, Canelo's back and better than ever. Oh, Canelo's a different breed. Oh, Canelo is worthwhile to go in. Yeah, we want to see that rematch. Netflix puts it back on their platform. Yeah, this fight's big enough that we want to see that rematch. It's gotten the momentum. One fight can change the opinions of a whole bunch of people. In a way that can we see the complete 180 that we've seen with Devin Haney. Nobody wanted to see him fight, and all of a sudden now everybody wants to see him fight at 147 against the likes of Ryan Garcia, as well as even some circles are talking about, hey, at 154, I wonder what he could do up there. All of one win can change everything, the entire perspective of who you are in the public eye. Which breeds money, which breeds intrigue, which breeds a legacy shift that your fight can bring about, as well as it breeds an opportunity to right the wrongs and get your redemption. Or solidify, yeah, I'm that bad brother. I'm as bad as you think I am. Come back and say, hey, okay, I'll fight you again, and I'll beat you again. And then he beats him again. Doing the same stuff that Sugar Ray Robinson, doing the same stuff that we saw the likes of Henry Armstrong do. When you got a rival who keeps on saying, yeah, they're the top of the top, and you beat them, and then they come back and regain. Okay, I'm back again, let me run it back, and you beat him again. Greatness. Rematch him. Usyk did it to AJ. Usyk did it to Fury. Usyk just done it to everybody. It's a mark of it's one of the marks of a great champion. Joe Louis did it. Ali did it. Show improved defensively. You are the best that you say that you are. That I would love to see it. I wouldn't be mad at it if we saw Canelo show up and show out against the Glazers. So that's all the reason why I want that fight to happen. If we get Canelo versus the Glazers. Now, more than ever. Because if we wait around a year, yeah, it might be bad. But if we get it now, yeah, I'd love to see Canelo versus the Glazers. And have Canelo, if he wins, call out Crawford and make him come back in the box. I would love that. I wouldn't have a problem with that. Not at all. Let me see. No issue there. Let me see. But as of right now, it's really hard to believe in Canelo. In some moments during his fights with Bud, he looked really bothered by Bud's 147 power. It more so, it was the countering. Again, the power caught him. Crawford made him respect him because of his power. Yes. But it was the countering that Crawford was able to counter, just like he was able to do with Spence. And the movement and the willingness to say, okay, I got faster hands and I'm gonna beat you in these exchanges. I will take shots because I know I can tank them when need be. And when you try to rest and recover, I will then move in. When Canelo tries to have some lull time, I won't let you be comfortable. That's the thing. Canelo, because of his presence and dominance, normally fights himself into a comfortable state of mind. I'm in control. I'm walking you down. Everything that you do is predicated on what I do. You're the reactor. And I'm the reactor. Excuse me. No, wrong phrase. You are the person that reacts to all my movements. I'm the spotlight that you follow, not the other way around. Whatever I do, you react to. I'm the show. I'm the leader. I'm the dominant one in this dance. That's how Canelo wants to fight. Crawford made it so that's not going to happen. When you want to take a break, I'm going to go and fight. When you want to fight, I'm going to go take a break. When you push, I pull. And he was able to completely take over. Not just the momentum, but the control of this fight by being the controller. With Canelo, if he can learn to be able to adapt in more ways than just stalk and walk, catch and shoot. And again, get back to some of the things he was doing when he was younger. In the prime days of 160 to the early days of 168. That's hard to beat. That's hard to beat. And again, everybody is not Crawford. That's the thing we also have to notice. Everybody isn't Crawford fighting at 168. If they were, there would have been a lot more intriguing fights on display. Everybody ain't Benavidez and everybody ain't Terrence Crawford. We could very well see that Iglesias is not on Canelo's level, hypothetically, but we got to see them get in the ring. I don't care what the speculation may be. We just need to see them fight because there's still enough prime in Canelo. He can come back and still take over the land. There's enough prime in Canelo. He can still come through and take over and run roughshod over the globe. But it's up to him. It's up to him to go and take these tests while he can still take them. Because if he doesn't, and he waits around and does what he did to David Benavidez against everybody, then there's going to be a concerning effort where all the speculative movement of him being able to be better off against the upper echelon of 168 might not be as concretely in his favor as it used to be. Or rather, as it would have been if he had went and moved in now. Because like I said, it is now or never. You want to take a tune-up fight to go and recalibrate and then learn and practice some of your new skills and then go against the biggest of big and fight fully against the top tier talent for titles, do that. But whatever the case, just don't waste time. That's my biggest thing. Just don't waste time. Not at all. Please don't. But my gosh, is there anything else anybody wants to say real quick? Like I said, we're going a little bit shorter today because we want to make sure we save a lot of stuff for Friday. And plus doing 3 days back to back to back, got to be a little bit more mindful with how I pace myself and pace my voice so I'm not, conking out by the time we get to the hour mark on Friday afternoon. So is there anything else anybody wants to say in regards to boxing or beyond? You want to talk? If we need to, we can react to the Trae Young trade that's happening with the Wizards. There's some reports right now Trae Young may not play with the Wizards at all. At all. And we can see him actually get moved to another team before the trade deadline. Hypothetically, if we want to go that route. And we want to talk about the NFL playoffs and how it's going about with the likes of the brackets currently standing. Can the Bills actually get there to the Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, all out? And the biggest threats of you went up against another great QB now being thrown out the window in your run to a Super Bowl. Can it be now or never that he actually gets over that hump? Or is there going to be another letdown where what's the excuse this time for why the Bills, with the roster that they constructed over the course of this 4 or 5 year span, still with an MVP level quarterback who won MVP, can't get the job done? We can talk about that absolutely if you all so choose. But if you don't have anything to say, hey, we'll pack it up and send it home. So last call. Anything anybody else wants to say? Like I said, we're trying to save some stuff for Friday. So we can have a week's worth of content. The episode's going to be a little bit shorter. But is there anything else anybody wants to talk about? Anything else anybody wants to say? If not, then we're going to pack the show up and send it home. We're going to see you all on Friday. So with all of that being said, this has been another episode of The Watchman with me, your host, Jean-Luc Welch. Like I said, again, I know it's a shorter show. I understand. I'm not trying to skimp it out. I'm trying to make sure that we can actually have stuff for the Friday because everybody's going to be here on Friday. Trust me, it's going to be a whole lot of stuff I got planned for Friday afternoon that you're going to want to be here and witness and watch and listen to. It's going to be a blast, absolutely. But thank you all for tuning in and listening to the show. It's been a phenomenal time with you all on this Thursday afternoon. Hopefully I made your day a little bit better, a little bit brighter, a little bit more impactful on the mind, and hopefully you enjoyed this show. Leave a like on the video if you have not already. Subscribe to the channel and join the empire. Share the show with everybody that you know so we can keep on building up this empire together. And also be sure to hit the notification bell so you know whenever we post right here on YouTube and on every podcasting platform manageable. Also rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts. We're available on Apple, Spotify, you name it, we're there. If we're not, we'll get there, absolutely. And we got Cash App and PayPal links down below in the description if you would like to support the channel. And we also got super chats and super gifts and stickers and all that stuff. If you can give to the show, it would mean the world to me. Helps to make this show bigger, better, and stronger, all for your viewing and listening pleasure. And hey, if you can't give, just sticking around here and leaving a like and sharing the show is enough for me. But with all that being said, hey, I've been John McWelch. Y'all have been wonderful. Peace and love. We are out of here. Yes, sir. We're going to see you all on tomorrow on Friday. Be safe, be blessed, and we out.